All right, here we are, Lorri, finally together. I wish we could be in person, uh,
Yeah,
as I just love being in your presence. But virtual is what we have to make do with right now.
yeah, appreciate
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm like so excited really to have this little conversation with you. And I know that at some point, in some form, some people will hear this. So I want to um, like really begin by sharing a little bit about what I know of you and what I, yeah, let me just say what I know of you. Uh, and then, of course, I'll hand it over to you to share anything else that you want to add to introduce yourself. But, as what I know of you is that you're a trained psychotherapist and you're a movement practitioner and you have all these many, many certifications that you've been through in life that supports you to be this, uh, you know, therapeutic, healing, loving, compassionate uh, person, self, coach, and all the many, many certifications. But before, and all of that is something that I had to read about and put together as an introduction. But the way that I have seen you, felt you, and experienced you is really how I wish to introduce you to anyone who's listening onto this. And that is as my soul sister, and who I think the first time that I met with you across a Zoom screen like this, the like connection was like instant. And then when we met in person, it like just got amplified. And I can't tell you, it's like almost a dream come true that you're going to be the learning leader for holding space this year. And I can't think of any better person that I know. And so I thought I would take this opportunity for us to have a chat for anybody who's considering holding space to just get a little glimpse of the magic of Lorri. And that's the reason why I'm really doing this call. So thank you so much for saying yes to me, being here, and letting me do what I know best, which is just ask a few questions and letting you share what I know you do so beautifully is your insight, your love, your wisdom. So thank you again. And
yeah.
if there's anything you want to share about yourself or, what brought you to this work and how you're here, then I'll just hand over to you to first share.
Mm. Thank you for that intro. Likewise, the connection was there when we first met virtually. And then, of course, meeting you in person was super phenomenal and heart connecting. And so I appreciate you making time to connect with me in this way and to help our listeners learn a little bit more about what it means to hold space and what I may be bringing to the table in this capacity. So, as folks know, I'm the community director for the Center and for the Transformational Coaching Collective, and I'm honored to be the learning leader um, for holding space. And this will be my first time at delivering the information that I value so close to my heart. Speaking of values, I really value love and I value connection and I value compassion and connection, meaning, with other, but also with myself and with spirit. And I've been doing this work in many different capacities for many, many years as a wilderness therapist and now a deep transformational coach and um, working with individuals of all ages, from adolescents to parents, adults who are looking to be heard and understood And so, and sitting in many circles with many people over the years, and also doing my own trauma healing, I know how vitally important it is to create healing spaces. And so saying yes to being the learning leader, is not only for the center, but it's also for me to stay in the capacity of teacher and student. So.
Oh, thank you. And I mean, I've had the great joy of being held by you through many conversations that we've had, and um, the love, the compassion, and the trust that you spoke about, really shines through. And that's why I was so excited to see you step in. And as a learning leader for the Deep Coaching Intensive, I can share from my experience that we really end up teaching that which we need the most. And so I completely, hear you when you say, because it's my experience as well, that as I teach, I learn as much. And it's both humbling at one end and gratifying as well to bring this work to the world. So I just want to understand from you is that what do you enjoy most about holding space? I love being in a space that you hold, but what do you enjoy most about holding space?
It's such an honor to be in the presence and to witness somebody else's growth, and to normalize their healing journey as a reflection of my own. I liken it to actually like holding the hand of a friend, and knowing that it's going to be okay. And I think the thing that I'm grounded in most in the work that I really love is remaining a loving presence, and to be the healing presence, to be the healing space, because ultimately that's what holding space is to be that which we want to create for others. So yeah.
So it's that same, just being that loving presence is what like holding space is all about, right?
Yeah.
And our world needs so much of it. So I'm just I understand it from a coaching context, but say if it was not within the coaching context, really. So who's it that you can hold space for, like in life? I mean, does it necessarily have to be like with somebody as a practitioner, or I mean, is it more expansive than that? So who can you really hold space for?
Yeah, I see it from a place of anchoring in holding space for self, and then this ripple effect of holding space for others, and then the impact of that ripple effect on the world. To be an advocate for my own discomfort and being okay with it, and allowing whatever energy is in me to move out and through me, and to be just that with other people, because I believe that that so many of us, and I can say us because I've experienced this myself, can get tight, and that kind of energy that we hold tight, whether it's pain or some discomfort, is what creates illness and dis-ease in the body and in how we show up in the world. And we see that all around us. So, I know how important it is to hold space, like as a mother for my adult son. even though I can catch myself like, wanting to like give him ideas or solutions or, think about something else. But no, if I just stay in presence with whatever he brings forward and listen, that's what's truly needed, is that container of safety that I represent when I'm the space for him to be his most authentic, deep, raw self.
Wow, so it's like I like the fact, that it starts from self, and then like
Mm-hmm.
that ripple effect that you said that it has um, across the different roles we play. So what I'm therefore understanding is that irrespective of what role we play, it doesn't have to be a professional, uh, you know, practitioner role or a professional coach role per se, but just our capacity to just be there for other people as a loving presence, irrespective of the role, whether it's parent, child, or as a friend, or maybe a colleague, or maybe just a member of your community. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
possible to be able to hold space for anyone who wishes to be held. Would that be right to say it that way?
Yes. Right. And the work as a space holder is to deeply listen with all of our being, from deep listening, hearing, watching the body language, sharing your own body language of empathy and love, and to not be in any judgment or like many people want to fix whatever is happening for somebody else, or they're uncomfortable even hearing that, and to be okay and separated from that, and trust that the other person has their own innate wisdom, or they'll get there at their own pace,
Hmm.
through silence to lots of talking and lack of clarity, until they continue to drop and drop and drop in, um, to that deep knowing. Yeah.
Yeah, it brings to my mind a couple of questions, and I'll ask them, one at a time, both for my own clarity and for anyone else who's listening in. It seems like holding space is something that you offer through your presence. It's not something that you contract. I mean, it's not necessary that the other person even realizes that you're holding space for them, right? It's just who you are being, and that's what makes another person feel comfortable to open, to share, or just to feel
Mm-hmm.
safe and secure and feel held.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that is like contracted. Is that, would that be like, is that, I mean, does there have to be like in coaching you have to have that coach client, you're contracted to work towards a session, but holding space seems more like this is who you're being, and the other person just like steps in because of your being. I mean, does it make sense? I mean, or is it different?
Yes. No, that's accurate. And um, for myself, there's a bit of a dialogue that happens when there's not, when I wasn't, let's say I'm not initially intending that, but then I'm hearing the dialogue come from the other space, and then I will completely drop into um, being that holding space for the person. So yes, it is a choice that we make ourselves. So it's like, who am I choosing to be in this space?
Ah,
And there are lots of spaces out there that are considered safe, but there aren't many spaces that are healing. Every space that's safe doesn't mean it's a healing space. So it's what we bring to it as a space holder that enables the safety of the space.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like you become this space, and if a person, like you're choosing to become the space, and the other person may choose to enter that space or not, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it then brings me to the to the other question that was on my mind, is that, is this something that can be learned? I mean, can anybody be a space holder? Is it something that can be learned, or is it something that you grow into, or how does it work?
I would marry those two things together that you just said. It is definitely a skill that can be learned. It's not innate skill of being able to hold space, especially in a culture that has a history of telling you what to do and how to do it. And this
Yeah.
is what you should believe, and all these other conditions. So, going back to what we said earlier in our conversation is, being able to do that for ourselves will enable us to be a much better space holder for others. So yes, it's a skill, and it needs to be practiced and practice some more and practice some more, primarily with self, so that we can be available to other folks. Yeah.
Yeah. What's amazing is that irrespective of how much the distances that separates us, and the diversity in culture that we both come from and bring, uh, this becomes like the common denominator in terms of how we experience people telling us what
Yeah.
to do, uh, and how we buy into it or resist it or hold back till the time we learn to hold that space for ourselves, and that's universal. So
Yes.
yeah. And it's at the same time so easeful to know that it can be learned if one chooses to learn it. So
Right.
bringing
Yeah.
it back to
It's
choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Similarly, it's our choice when the space is made available to us on trusting oneself, being willing to explore and be curious about what's happening in the body, what's happening in the mind, what's happening in the heart, because it is a heart, truly, it's a heart-centered practice as a space holder, as well as, when we are the receiver, um, or the one speaking, to be willing to drop into the heart space um, and then tune into what's really happening in the body.
Yeah. So what I intuitively felt, I mean, now you have broken it down to that heart-centered. What I intuitively felt when I saw you across a Zoom screen, that heart-centered connectedness, is like now you've like put it in little building blocks as to how holding space becomes heart-centered space that you radiate so effortlessly. So good. I think that I know that this work that you're bringing out to the world through the Art of Holding Space course, and that I'm bringing through the Deep Coaching Intensive, is both based on the work of founder Leon Vanderpool from the
Mm-hmm.
center. And so of course there is similarity in uh, eh, both, I mean, let's say the core philosophy of both. And yet there is a difference, right? So it'll be interesting, and for both of us maybe to chat a bit in terms of how do you see the holding space course, um, similar or and different to Deep
Mm-hmm.
Coaching Intensive? And I'd like to have a
Yeah.
go at it first, and then I'll share my
Okay.
perspective.
Yeah. So it is a course, and it's a standalone course, the holding space, whereas the Deep Coaching Intensive is a much broader, expansive learning experience of what transformational coaching is and the 9 practices. The holding space course focuses on one of the practices in particular from deep coaching, which is nurturing a healing space. So that's one of the 9 practices. And so imagine taking that one practice and spending intentional, heart-centered time, excuse me, with peers in practicing that skill for oneself, and then to hold the space for other folks. That's what the Holding Space standalone course is. It's also ICF, International Coaching Federation approved course, and so people do receive 20 CCEUs for that. But it focuses primarily on nurturing that healing space, and it, although it does touch 5 of the other core practices as well. So yeah, I think if people haven't taken the DCI, like, this is a great place to start, because it will launch you into being a better space holder as you do your deep transformational intensive work, and or being a deep coach, or in your relationships in general. You don't have to be a coach, right? I want to really emphasize that, because it's very empowering for your own personal growth as well as in relationship. And then if you've done the DCI, the Deep Coaching Intensive, oftentimes people come out of that and say, well, what do I do next? Or how do I start my business? Or where do I take this? And a lot of the, from my experience, the discomfort with that is because we're way up in here doing a lot of thinking and mind work, where we really need to be coming from our heart space and our spiritual values, and let that be our guide. And so practicing holding space, that art of holding space, and it is definitely an art, is so valuable. And even as a next step coming out of the deep coaching, if someone has done that and they're looking to ground themselves more, to feel more connected with what their next step is, and leaning into their work.
Oh, I couldn't have said it even better than the way that you've shared. But amongst the other things that you've inspired me for, as you know, one of the things that you've inspired me is to join the gym. And so whilst you were sharing this, the thought that was going through my place is it's like when you go to the gym, and when I've been going to the gym, the sense of doing a full body workout is like the deep coaching intensive, right? It covers it covers all the ICF competencies, and it covers the 9 different practices, and it's like the whole body approach kind of piece of going to the gym analogy. And the holding space is like, when my trainer says that you have to focus, today we're just going to do the biceps piece of it. And so it's like you're taking one of the practices, and I know that covers 3 of the ICF competencies, and you're focusing and honing in, and of course both are important. It just depends on how you want to start, where you want to start, but it's almost necessarily to do both, to be able to see that result and that practice. You start embodying the muscles, or you embody the practice, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it reminded me of as you were sharing so well. Both of these. What do you think?
It's definitely a practice of a muscle, and muscle has memory. So the more we practice it, right, the deeper it resonates and settles within us, and the more effective we'll become. So I love that, the metaphor of the muscle working on one particular muscle, and then whole body, because it is also whole body. And if you work on the one muscle, you're going to be tapping into other systems within the body.
So I guess that they are of course, since the source of it is from the same place, from Leon Vanderpoel and his work that we're the stewards of through these 2 programs. the source is the same, and yet there is an integration to it, and there's an independence to the way they both stand as well, which is so which is so fabulous. And I think just like in coaching, we say, you meet the client where they are at. I think that as people who are considering these programs that we offer with so much of our love and complete dedication to this work, I think it's up to individuals to choose where they want to start from, and then at some point they will come around to either the tuning in and toning of that muscle through greater practice, or getting that whole overview first and then working towards that. So I guess that's an individual choice, but it comes from the same place.
Right. And I think of the word you're using as choice. It's in both of those spaces, the art of holding space and the deep coaching intensive. It's the same big question: who do I choose to be?
Yeah.
So
correct. Yeah. And I think that in life, irrespective of which course we take or how we show up, that larger question of who am I gets answered once we start choosing of who we wish to be in this world. Right. So it's like almost it's like starting with ourselves, that ripple effect out to the world, and answering some of the most existential questions, if those are the questions that do come, it's the right space to start from. Great. So I think that you and I love this work, and we love sharing this work, but any last closing comments or thoughts on how do you see this work and holding space as a program which starts in October, and if you want to give some details about the course as well, but how do you see that the world will benefit from more holding space practitioners that you will be bringing forth as you teach this program in October?
The short answer is that doing the work elevates elevates human consciousness. And so as part of that ripple effect that we spoke about earlier, becoming a better listener of self, being willing to tune in, tap in, tune in, turn on, so to speak, our own energy and resourcing, and then being available for other people. I mean, what would the world be like if we started to listen to each other's differences and without judgment, and allow people to have their own experience, again, without judgment or shaming even, and bring more peace and kindness and love within this world. That's the ultimate gem that can, and sparks that can come from this. So the course, is October 24th to December 12th. It's on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, and to get the time right, it's 7:30 p.m. in India. Yes, it's 2.5 hours a week for these 8 weeks, and with that will come some reflections after class time, and some beautiful reading to reflect on and talk about in class. And then also each person will be paired with someone in the class to do the holding space practice with as a peer partner, and there's 2 hours required of that as well. So we move as a cohort, and so that even connects us even deeper. And we also speak about circle practice and have agreements around that. And it's I of course took the course myself a couple of years ago, and it provides such an opportunity for grounding and for that practice of tapping in, tuning in, and turning on.
Yeah, I get.
Yeah.
And I think that should be the byline for this course: tapping in, tuning in, and turning on.
Yeah.
It seems like sums up the whole 8 weeks so
Yeah.
beautifully. Yeah, but I really hope that a lot of people do listen to this recording and experience your presence the way I have, and and take the opportunity, if they feel called to it, to show up for themselves in October and be held by you as their learning leader. I mean, that's my deepest wish. And I just want to thank you for making the time for this conversation that I really love. Making time for this conversation so that we can share the work that we love. And I always love sharing this space with you. So thank you so much for being here and being your awesome, beautiful, gorgeous soul sister that you are. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Amrita. And I'll close with saying that if folks have questions after this, they can either reach out to Julie, who is the Student Support Services Director, and ask questions particularly about enrolling for a course. They can go to the Center for Transformational Coaching, of course, and register online, or you can reach out to me through the TCC in a text, or you can email me and set up a call, or just communicate through email. I'm happy to answer any questions or get you the answers, either way.
Thank you for saying that. And I'll say in closing that if you want to know more about Lorri and about my experience of being held in her graceful presence, then reach out to me and I will share you a little bit more about our story. So till then, see you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. From my heart to yours.